What's going on, knuckleheads? Thank you so much for joining the chat. I'm sorry about the little bit of,
If you'd like to talk about combat sports and you want to join the discussion, click the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon next to it and join Knucklehead Nation.
There we go, knuckleheads. Sorry about the little bit of technical difficulties we were having there. It looks like our broadcasting program has decided to update and kind of mess with everything, but I think we're back on track now. If you didn't know, now you know. This is our Tank Davis versus Yuriorkis Gamboa preview, and we've got a really amazing surprise and treat for you guys today. We've got Yuriorkis Gamboa's trainer, Stacy McKinley. He's going to be joining us via audio phone call. If you don't know who Stacy McKinley is, he trained Mike Tyson, Iron Mike Tyson, throughout the majority of his career when he was Iron Mike Tyson. Just an absolutely phenomenal trainer, former Golden Gloves winner himself. He trained the likes of James Lights Out Tony, Guillermo Jones, Gerald McClellan, and so many other guys in the fight game. And now he's working with Yuriorkis Gamboa in what's seemingly a very difficult fight, as he's going to be going up against Tank Davis, an undefeated young fighter, about 12 years his junior, So we're going to do this like we do our typical previews, where we're going to go over the tail of the tape, discuss it a little bit, talk about what we think each guy needs to do, and then we're going to get Stacy McKinley on the line and talk to him a little bit. So first things first, Tank Davis has been moved extremely strategically by his team. And that's not to say he's not a great talent, because he's a fantastic talent, but not as active as we've hoped for. And so, Tank Davis is 22-0, and he's fought some decent opposition, but again, not as active as we'd like for him to be. Nonetheless, extremely excited to watch Tank Davis fight. He's a fantastic fighter, and he's going to be going up against Cuban gold medalist in the 2004 Olympic Games, Yuriorkis Gamboa, who's now been a professional for a hot minute, as the kids would say. And let's take a look at these guys' stats. So first and foremost, let's take a look at their record. We've got Gervonta Tank Davis at 22-0. He's going to be going up against Yuriorkis Gamboa at 30-2. Gamboa's only ever lost to Terrence Crawford, and then a very subpar and strange performance against, I believe, Castellanos was his last name. But other than that, Gamboa's been doing quite well. He's rattled off a few wins in a row, and he's ready to get back in there with Gervonta Tank Davis. Now, if we take a look at their knockout percentage, that's another thing that really stands out for us. You've got Gervonta Tank Davis with a very impressive 95+% knockout ratio. In his 22 fights, he's essentially gotten 21 knockouts. Yuriorkis Gamboa with 18 knockouts in his 32 fights, putting him at just over 56% as far as his knockouts go. If you look at the weights, Gamboa is fighting at 135. It looks like Tank Davis is moving up to fight him. So, this is going to be for the WBA Lightweight Title. It's going to be live on Showtime in Atlanta, which is essentially Gervonta Davis' second home, but Yuriorkis Gamboa trains in Florida and South Florida, so I don't think he'll be too uncomfortable with, fighting in Atlanta, but nonetheless, it will be more in Gervonta Davis' backyard. and he will be moving up in weight, but I'm not sure that's going to be a disadvantage for Tank Davis, considering he's been struggling to make weight. As far as the height goes, they're both listed at exactly the same height, 5'5.5". Finally, the reach. Well, not finally, but the reach is an extremely important aspect of this fight, in my opinion. You've got Tank Davis listed at 67.5, roughly, with Yuriorkis Gamboa listed at 65. So Tank Davis with a significant reach advantage. Finally, we've got the stance and the age. So Tank Davis is listed as a southpaw, and Gamboa is an orthodox fighter. It's always tricky to fight southpaws, and I think one of the most important stats that really steps out, or that really sticks out to us, is the fact that Gervonta Davis is 25 years old and Yuriorkis Gamboa is 37 years old. So it's definitely, I think, an advantage for Tank Davis, who has, essentially not even entered his prime, but is looking really good despite not having entered his prime yet at just 25 years old, one of the youngest champions in boxing, and just a great talent. He last fought on July 27th of 2019, got the TK over Ricardo Nunez in the second round. Before that, he KO'd Hugo Ruiz on February 9th. So he's had a couple fights in 2019 so far. Whereas Yuriorkis Gamboa only had the one fight against Roman Martinez, which he won by knockout in the second round. Before that, he beat Miguel Beltran by unanimous decision. He beat Jason Sosa and Alexis Reyes before that. It was only the fight even before that one on May 5th, 2017, where he lost to Robinson Castellanos. So he's rattled off basically 4 wins in a row, whereas Gervonta Tank Davis has never lost, and that's going to be another thing that Yuriorkis Gamboa is essentially going to be forced to deal with, considering that he doesn't know how to lose, does Tank Davis. And so, it's going to be interesting to see how Gamboa deals with somebody who's never lost. So we're going to go ahead at this time, and we're going to give our special guest, Stacy McKinley, a call. Somebody I'm extremely excited to have on the chat. So please stick around. We're going to give him a call right now. Let's see. Hopefully he picks up for us, and he's not too busy. I know he's busy training fighters and doing all kinds of stuff, but let's see what's going on here.
Hello?
Stacy, how are you, sir?
How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. I really appreciate your time, Stacy.
It's my pleasure. Thanks to you.
Stacy, I've got some questions for you. I've got a ton of questions for you, but first and foremost, I've got some about this upcoming Gamboa versus Davis fight, if you don't mind. Okay, so, I know you've had a history of being in South Florida. That's where I met you, and you've worked with some of the best fighters, in the world, basically. But I wanted to know, at what point did you start working with Gamboa? Because if I'm being honest, I had no idea you were working with Yuriorkis Gamboa.
Well, I worked with Gamboa on one other occasion when he was with 50 Cent.
Okay.
He was with 50 Cent, and he worked. I worked with him. It may have been about 2 years ago. I worked with him then, but only for one fight, and then I was called back. For this fight here, and one other fight that he had in Maryland when him and Davis fought in the same car. He and Tank fought in the same car. Both of them had second round knockout. So I worked with him for that particular fight, and then they called me back for this fight right here.
I see. And is there any reason that he called you back for this particular fight?
Well, it's it's hard to say. It's hard to say what the reason is and why they did it, and why you do this. I don't know. I think that he feels comfortable around me. His manager, Tony Gonzalez, and I had another fight together. Ricardo Mario was one of our fighters, so he feels comfortable around me, and he knew I've been around a long time. So I'm not the head trainer in this particular fight, but you know I got good input and good insight. I think so. It just feels that sometimes fighters feel good when they got a veteran trainer around them.
Yeah. And you're definitely a veteran trainer, Stacy. By the way, how long, just so people know, how long have you been a boxing trainer?
I've been a boxing trainer consistently for about 45 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
How does Gamboa rank among some of the fighters that you've trained in the past?
Well, Gamboa is right up there with a lot of the good fighters. I would say, Ricardo Mariogo, and maybe I'll step ahead of those guys because you got to remember he won a gold medal in the Olympics.
Yeah,
he's an Olympic gold medalist. He's won gold medals in the Pan Am Games, medals in the World Games, this type of thing. So he's right there, and he's 3-time world champion in 3 different divisions. So he's right there as one of the great fighters.
Absolutely.
So he's right there with the top fighters. Yes.
Okay. And then, I've been looking at some of the stats. Obviously, we do the previews and we do predictions and all kinds of stuff on the channel. And, this is definitely a tough fight, and I think he made a smart decision to call you into the camp. He's fighting a guy that's 12 years younger than him. What problems do you think Tank Davis poses for Gamboa in this fight?
Well, Tank Davis, a young guy. He's a big puncher. He's a good fighter. He's very cocky. I like him a lot. I like Tank a lot. I like his style. I like everything about him. But I think that he doesn't have, during the press conference and after the press conference, I started calling out, asking, did he know a fighter by the name of Joe Gantz? And he said, no, I never heard him before. I said, Joe Gantz is from Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh,
and
wow.
Joe Gantz was the first African-American world champion. And he has the credit for being the first, the inventor. He was the inventor of scientific boxing. I said, you didn't know that? He said, no, I never knew that. I said, he's right there from Baltimore, Maryland. I said, but he is the father. That's why they call him the old master. He's the master of scientific boxing. He's the one who invented scientific boxing. I said, he beat all the guys, Blackburn, who trained Joe Louis, that came to Detroit. All these guys tutored underneath Joe Gantz, right there from your hometown in Maryland, and you know nothing about it. So it's a lot of things he has to learn, but I think it's going to be a very, very tough fight for him because he never fought anybody like Gamboa. Now, the difference between the Gamboa and the Gamboa you saw that been lost a couple of fights, Gamboa's just been, his confidence is back up. He's hungry, and he knows that he has to win. So right now he's doing everything it takes to win. He never stopped training after the last fight. So this is going to be a big test going into the final rounds of this fight. It's going to be a big test, and also it has a lot to do with the corners. The guy in this corner he's not a very experienced trainer, but he's a good trainer. But he's not a very experienced trainer. I can't take anything from him.
Yeah.
But what you going to do when you get down in the deep water? You get down in the deep water, then the fighter gets displacement in the ring. In the fight, he doesn't really know what's going on. Then what you got to tell him, you got to be able to pull him through the fight and tell him what's going on. I don't think this guy can do that under certain circumstances. I don't think he can do it.
I see. Well, that's.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Everybody talk about the Ortiz, Deontay Wilder fight. They said, well, Ortiz was leading going into the 6th round, and he was ahead and everything. Okay. Now, the problem in that fight is 2 things. Number one, he had no business training in Las Vegas. He's 40-something years old. He's training at high altitude. The only thing he's going to do is break him down. It's going to break down his white corpuscles, and he's not going to get the oxygen to his brain that he should be getting. Another thing, you don't take an old man in high altitude and train, and you don't take a fighter that's on drugs into high altitude and train. They didn't know that. They thought that they was getting something extra. Okay, you're going to train in the mountains. You're going to run in the mountains of Las Vegas. It's high altitude. It's 13,000 feet above sea level. That tells you that the people that handle him don't understand boxing to the depth, all the way to the depths of boxing. So they didn't understand that. I said, look, you're going to get tired in about 4 or 5 rounds. You're going to get tired and get complacent in 4 or 5 rounds, okay? You're winning the fight. Now the corner has to have experience to see that you're winning the fight. Now you're getting ready to make a mistake. Don't make a mistake. Pull it through. So there's a difference between experience and working in many different fights and many different fighters, you know. A lot of things got to do with experience.
That's some fantastic insight. I really appreciate that, Stacy.
Yeah.
Speaking of that fight, you know, what did you think of Deontay Wilder's performance in that fight?
I think that I saw a lot of things in Wilder. Wilder is somewhat gun shy. Seemed like he was a little gun shy. He was hesitant to punch. He was waiting too long. Every time Ortiz would make a move toward him, he would jump back as if something really dangerous was coming toward him. I think he was undecided about what was going on. And Ortiz, like I say, he settled in. He got a little relaxed, and he got caught. Now, the bottom line is the corner should have saw what was happening and said, look, step to your right, step to your left. Tell that fighter what to do to get him through that moment, okay? Yeah. It's the same thing with Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes had a bad round. 6th round, he always got knocked down. But then they realized in the 6th round coming around, they had to tell him different things to get him through that round. So it has a lot to do with the corner. Everybody can fight. I can fight myself for 4 or 5 rounds. Ain't nobody throwing no punches back.
Yeah.
But you got to understand one thing. When you get in deep water, you got to be able to, the corner has to be able to pull the fighter through.
I got you. And you know about Vegas because you lived in Vegas for a while, so you know it's probably
I still got a home in Vegas. Yeah.
I see. Really interesting stuff, Stacy. Let me tell you, it's fascinating to get into the mind of a high-level coach like yourself. What is it that you've been working on with Gamboa, or what do you think is important for Gamboa to do in this fight against such a much younger guy with a slight reach advantage like Gervonta Davis has?
Well, the thing about Gamboa is this, and I kind of told him a lot of things at the press conference. I was talking to Tank, and I was talking to Tank people, and psychologically, I took him to a level they'd never been before. Because I started talking about Joe Gans, I started talking about Kid Chocolate, I started talking about the Boston Tar Baby, what they did in fights, and all these different things. Kid Gavlin, he didn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
He knew anything about what did Kid Gavlin do. I started talking about how to fight southpaws. The whole time until you move to the left, you move this way. I said, but Livingstone, Brandon said, stay on top of it. A lot of things that I was saying in that press conference, this kid was lost. He was lost because he did not understand it, and his trainers didn't understand where I was coming from. But I instilled it in Gamboa. I said, look, you got to go old school with this guy. He understands what you're doing from a traditional level, okay? He can see what you're doing. Let's put some of his old school moves in here, and then there's a whole different ball game. There's a whole different ball game because you're doing things that he's never seen before. He done saw this other stuff that you're doing. This fighter done seen these things, but you're gonna throw some punches. You're gonna make some moves that you never seen before. That's gonna be the difference. He's gonna wonder, what the hell am I doing? He's never seen it before, and his corner and trainer, they've never seen it before. So I try to put some old school stuff in there to make to offset what Davis is doing. Davis is a very good fighter. He's a very dangerous fighter. He's a very dangerous fighter. But they're talking about Davis' strength, his punching power, and all this. So psychologically, like I told him, I said, look, let me give you some advice, okay? One of the hardest punchers ever lived, they say it right now, is Ernest Shaver.
Yeah.
Okay, he's one of the hardest punchers ever lived. But who did Ernest Shaver lose to? He lost to Jerry Quarry, who wasn't a big puncher. They was talking about Shaver's the next Joe Louis, a big puncher. A small guy, a little Italian guy. I think he's Italian anyway. He's white. He come in there, little guy. When he knocked out Shaver. One of the biggest punchers ever lived, okay? You talk about George Foreman. George Foreman knocked a brick out of concrete wall. What did George Foreman do against Jimmy Young, who's a pity patter? The pity patter beat him so bad that he come down and say, George, what happened in the fight, George? He said, I saw Jesus. I saw Jesus Christ. So then he started preaching, okay? These are heavy punches. All right, you look at Joshua. Joshua is like he's a chisel from heaven.
Yeah.
Everything from heaven. Tall, 6'7", 6'6", 6'7". Beautiful body, everything. And a little pudgy boy, little pudgy African, little pudgy American, Mexican kid come in there, which I know is a good fighter. Yeah. I tried to get him to sign with Don King. And when Bob Aaron found out he was signing with Don King, he offered to fight with Curtis Parker. But I told Don, this kid's a good fighter.
Yeah.
Don't forget about that fat belly and all that. He's a good fighter. So when you start talking about Tank Davis punched so hard, Mike Tyson, one of the most vicious, hardest punchers ever lived. When he met to come up against Buster Douglas, what happened to it? It didn't make no difference. He got beat. So you can't say that Tank is so strong, he punched so hard. So what? That may be his downfall.
Yeah.
Because he may be relying on the big punch. So you can take that from him, but once you take that from him, he got nothing. Everybody talk about Wilder now. Wilder's the biggest puncher in the world. He got a big right hand. He's just all like what Joe Louis said. I'll take your right hand and stick it up your ass. Throw it. You challenge the right hand. You don't run from it. But what I'm telling you is old school stuff. They don't understand this.
Yeah.
Okay?
You know, I'd be interested.
You need to pay me for some of this stuff, I'm telling you.
Well, how about the next time I get down to South Florida, I'll at least take you out for a steak dinner or something. How about that one?
No, I'm a vegan. I don't eat steak now. Come on.
Oh, my bad. Speaking of Deontay Wilder, you know, that big punch, I mean, what would you advise his opponents to do? Because it's crazy to me. It seems like he's always losing the boxing match, but he always finds a way to land that thing. It's like the guys lose concentration, he lands it, and it's over. What would you advise if you were coaching against Wilder on how to beat him?
Well, the thing about it, you know, I got Trevor Bryan right now. Trevor Bryan is going to be the WBA heavyweight champion of the world. We're not concerned about Deontay Wilder, big right hand, this type of thing. Yeah. You don't run from the punch.
Yeah.
You got to teach your defense against the right hand. You don't challenge. You don't run from the punch. You challenge the punch. You go to the power. Now, it may sound crazy to you, and it may sound crazy to most people. Why would I want to go to the power? I'm trying to stay away from the power. This guy is hitting hard. If you go to the power, you find out that you smother the power. You take the force off the power.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get the young fighters to understand that. You know, you go to the power. You got to go to the power. You don't run from the power. If you go to, you look at Sugar Ray Leonard when he fought Tommy Hearns. He was losing, and all at once, Sugar Ray started walking him down. When he walking him down, he walked to the power and knocked him out. You got to understand that. But it's hard to teach young guys that. You know, it is a forgotten art because young trainers don't know anything about that. They think you're nuts. So basically what they're doing after is just throwing punches. They ain't got no technique. They're just throwing punches.
You bring up Trevor Bryan. Trevor Bryan is an exciting, undefeated heavyweight right now that you've been coaching for years. You've been coaching him since I was down in South Florida over 5 years ago. How long you been with Trevor now?
I've been with Trevor about 7 to 8 years.
Wow.
Okay. In fact, I went to New York. I went to New York to look at another fighter in Albany, New York. And I went in the gym and they said, I want to see this fighter. And I went in the gym and I saw him sparring. And I said, wait a minute, who is that young boy right there? The young fat boy right there. They said his name is Trevor Bryan. He's an amateur. I said, oh, yeah? I said, look, I don't want this other fighter. I want this fat boy. But his mother said, and he said that he wanted to go to college, so he ended up going to northern Michigan, up to Marquette, Michigan, and going to school there. And he got in trouble after the second year, so he came back, and I got him when he was about 20, 21, 22 years old. I took my time with him, developed him real well. So he's undefeated. He's never been hurt in the ring. So he's fresh. He's a good, fresh competitor. And we need some fresh guys in the heavyweight division right now. So Trevor Bryan is right there. So we got a lot of great things that's lined up for him right now.
You actually got me tickets to watch him fight in Vegas one time. I really appreciate that. And my understanding was he was supposed to fight Manuel Char for another title, but it looks like that fight fell through.
Well, Manuel Char, you got to understand, you know, we sit here and they say, well, Trevor Bryan is not doing this, he's not doing that. We have signed contract to fight Char. They backed out. Okay, we had signed contract to fight Gerald Miller. He backed out. We had signed contract to fight Dominic Brazil. He backed out.
Wow.
We didn't do what we supposed to do. We got signed, not just say we will fight them, but we actually got the contract. and they back out of the fight. Why? Because they don't want to lose to Trevor Bryan. Manuel Shaw did not want to lose to Trevor Bryan because he wanted to fight. I understand it. It's all about business also. He wanted to fight, get in a position so he could win and fight AJ, Anthony Joshua, for a big payday. But he could not get around Trevor Bryan. He's mandatory. So what's going to happen is he's going to have to step aside, and Trevor Bryan going to be declared the world champion. And he's going to be the champion in a reset.
Do we know who Trevor Bryan's going to fight next, since Manuel Char doesn't want to fight him?
They got several names that they've been throwing after us. They've been throwing different names at us, so I can't reveal that right now.
Yeah.
But there's top names of guys with PBC. There's other guys that want to fight, so we're willing to fight anybody. You know, I was hoping that he was going to get a chance to fight Joshua because they had Trevor Bryan fighting Joshua, and they had a Ruiz. So they chose Ruiz because they looked at Ruiz and said, well, he's a fat, chubby boy, he's all that, but they didn't understand that you can't psychologically take a fighter from one style and put him another style in 3 weeks to fight a different guy just like Ruiz. They underestimated it, you know. You can't do that.
Yeah, Ruiz is a tough guy. You know, he's never really lost. I thought he beat Joseph Parker in that fight in New Zealand.
He's a good fighter. I watched him real close. I try to get down to sign him. He's real close. You don't look at it because he's flabby. You know, a lot of guys think this is not a cosmetic. This is not a cosmetic contest. Your body got to be all ripped up and pretty and all. Hey, look, that's all bullshit.
Yeah.
You don't have to be ripped up and pretty to fight. In fact, I love one thing I learned from Angelo Dundee. He always told me, Stacy, I like those slender guys, lean, slender guys, basically guys that look like Wilder.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that got the speed and the punching power. All the muscles, all that stuff, that's just show. That's cosmetic. They ain't got nothing to do with boxing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, it's you got to, but it's all of it. What I'm telling you is a forgotten art, it's forgotten information. But all those guys, old times that knew all this type of stuff, he manufactured, which is not really old, but all these guys are dead. I'm kind of like the last of the Mohegans.
So Trevor Bryan, you know, is probably not lining up a title shot next. Is that what's going to happen for the vacant? I guess they're going to make Char vacate his belt, and Bryant's going to fight for it.
I think they're going to make him vacate his belt. He's going to be the champion in recess, and they're going to give the belt to Trevor Bryan.
I see.
And Trevor Bryan going to have a title defense, and then he has to fight the champion in recess. And if the champion in recess did not want to fight him for $2.5 million, I don't see he's going to ever fight him.
I see.
But if that's the case, bring it on. Ain't no problem. We're not ducking anybody.
Yeah. So you're confident in Bryan. You're ready to put him in there against anyone.
I will put him in there. Now, to fight Wilder, I would love for him to get a tune-up.
Yeah.
I love for him to get a tune-up to fight Wilder. Okay, I would love that, but it's not. We going for what we know. And I think that his skills and techniques, his defensive skills, he's a very hard guy to hit. His defensive skills will bring him through. I mean, Wilder can't be hesitant like he was against Ortiz. If he does, he gets knocked out. They're bound to stop him.
Wow. And so who do you think you're going to be targeting next for Bryan, since all these guys are, you know, backing out, not really wanting to fight him? Who's the next target for him?
They got that kid named Kawanaki or somebody like that.
Oh, Kownacki, the chubby Polish guy.
Yeah, they mentioned him, but that's no problem. I don't need no tune-up for him. Bring him on just like he is.
Wow. That's exciting
You got to understand one thing. Trevor Bryan, for seven to 8 years, has never left the gym. He's been in the gym. He never took off 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. He's always been in the gym doing something.
Wow.
That's what we do from Detroit. If you don't have a fight, you have to come to the gym at least 3 or 4 times a week. You have to run 3 times a week. She's always been in the gym. He's always been sparring with top guys, you know, Jamil McCline, Shannon Briggs, and Gerald Miller. He's always been sparring up at the top.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's a difference between sparring and fighting, but it keeps him sharp all the time.
Yeah. And
so he's still sharp.
And so when you went up to New York and you found him, you said you were looking at another fighter. Was that Amir Imam that you were looking at that time?
No, I was looking at another heavyweight.
Oh,
I think
see.
that kid's name was Ken Du.
I see.
He was a heavyweight. There was somebody's name was Ken Du. And that's why I went to see Ken Du, another heavyweight. But I saw this 18-year-old boy that was whipping his tail. And at the time, Shirley Finkel was one of his sponsors. But they said, well, you know, and you got to understand, Trevor actually was an alternate for the Olympics.
Yeah.
But they said, well, you know, we're going to take Dummy to Brazil because he's a little fat boy. And I said, I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about the fat. So I asked the coach, I said, listen, I want to ask you 4 questions. He said, what's that? Can this kid take a punch? He said, yes. Can this kid does he have heart? Yes, he has heart. Is he disciplined? Will he train? Yes, he'll train hard.
Yeah.
I said, okay, that's all I need to know. And so I ain't worried about the weight. So I got him down here. I think he was weighing 270 pounds, and 12 weeks later, he fought at the Hard Rock. He weighed in at 227.
Wow.
So I wasn't worried about it. I wasn't worried about his weight. In fact, when his mother saw him, she said, I couldn't recognize my son.
Wow.
So, but I wanted to know, did he have heart? Would he fight back? Did he have a chin? You know, would he train? Yes, all those was yes. That was Mr. Mitchell, who's over the U.S. boxing up in Marquette at the university. So I called him Al Mitchell. He told me all these different things. I said, then come on down here. And he come down with me. Then he started sparring with Guillermo Jones, Jamil McCline. And he got to the point where he beat Jim McCline so bad one day, Jamil retired. That's when he retired. He said, well, if a young kid can do me like this, I ain't got no business in the ring. So
wow.
Jamil, he retired behind that.
Wow, wow. I brought up Amir Imam. How's he doing?
Amir Imam is no longer with Don King. He's with, I heard that he signed a contract with Top Rank.
Okay.
And he has some other managers, so he's not with us anymore, and I wish him well. I wish him well. I hope that everything come together for him. Yeah. He was a very, very talented, outstanding boxer.
Yeah.
You know, I taught him things that I couldn't teach other fighters because it was a waste of time because they couldn't do it in the ring. But I taught him things. That's why I taught him things that the old master, Joe Gans, the master of boxing, the creator of scientific boxing. And that's why I named Amir Imam the young master. Gans is called the old master because of the things that he learned and his skills. But you can teach a fighter a whole lot of things, but then there's one thing you got to understand. Everybody thinks that one of the best fighters ever come out of Detroit during Tommy Hearns' era was Tommy Hearns, but he wasn't. It was a kid by the name of Bernard Mays. He was the best. He was the best at that particular time that came out of Detroit. But psychologically and mentally, he wasn't as strong. He wasn't as strong, so that's why he never made it. That Amir Imam is the same way. He's the same way. He has everything going for him, but when it comes down to a mental thing at the end, then he fell apart.
Yeah.
He fell apart. Once he fell apart, he didn't understand why he fell apart because mentally you got distracted. Other people talking to you. Know, people talk to fighters and telling you this and that. And he started questioning my ability and what am I doing for you? Questioning, is Don King a good promoter? All that. Well, how in the hell you think you got to the fucking title fight twice? Okay, and you ain't fought nobody. Come on, brother. You know, and you fighting on Showtime, making $100,000, ain't fighting nobody. Come on, you think that's simple? You think everybody wants some of that?
Yeah.
So, but I wish him well. He's a good kid. I still got his pictures on the wall in my gym, and so he's gonna be fine. He just fought a couple weeks ago at a 4th round knockout, and hopefully he gets a chance to fight, get back and fight. Maybe Crawford and make himself some money and go on and take care of his family and retire. That's all. That's all it's all about. It's about helping these kids, and that's why I got to do everything I can for Trevor Bryan. He asked me today, Stacy, you think I'm gonna be financially set for life? I said, that's up to you. That's up to you. You keep dedicating yourself. You're gonna make the money. The money's right there for you. Now, if you keep it, that's up to you. If you don't keep it, now you're gonna be broke too. There ain't no doubt about it.
I remember Trevor was a real good kid to deal with too. He was very polite and seems like somebody who really listens.
He's polite. He's listened, and most of all, he's loyal. He's very loyal. So he make you want to really worked hard for him, and he sacrificed a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like you owe him. He doesn't owe you. You owe him. So we owe Trevor Bryan because of his loyalty. That's why Trevor Bryan will leave out of this game as a multi-millionaire. Ain't no doubt in my mind. I've seen too many of them like Trevor Bryan. They always make it.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to have him on the show if we ever have a chance and talk to him about what he's got going on next. Who are you working with? Who are you working with besides Trevor Bryan and Gamboa right now?
I got the young Olympian. This is the kid you get to watch. I got the young Olympian Nigel Lopez out of Atlanta, 19 years old. He's one of the best. He's 6'3", about 205 pounds. But that's because of the weight class he's in amateurs. It's a 200-pound limit, 201-pound limit. In the heavyweight. The super heavyweight is bigger. But he's one of the most talented kids that I've seen in a long time. I got to put him maybe 2 or 3 classes below Muhammad Ali and Larry Holmes. That's how good he is.
Wow.
He's a natural. He's a natural heavyweight. I got him. I got his brother, who is Hakeem Lopez, who's 8-0. He's a 4-time. He won the heavyweight, 4-time heavyweight amateur champion, the national champions. I got him. He's 8-0. So he's doing real well. So we got a lot of stuff going on.
Very nice.
And I turned down a lot of fighters.
No, I can imagine.
You know?
I can imagine. I mean, I think your connection to Mike Tyson, that's not something anybody will ever forget. You know, you were his trainer for the longest time, right? Out of any of the trainers he ever had.
I was with him for 10 years. You know, I was with him for 10 years. You know, the funny thing about it, when we was at the press conference the other day, and Tank, called Tank, they tried to say Tank is just like Mike Tyson, right?
Yeah.
Tank Davis is a miniature Mike Tyson. But Adrian Bruno, when I come in there, Adrian Bruno called me and said, Stacy, come over here, man, Stacy. So I came over and I started talking to Adrian. That's when I started talking about Joe Gans and all this. And then Adrian Bruno said, he was with Tyson for a long time. And Tank Davis didn't know that. He changed the expression on his face. He said, what? I didn't know he said, yeah, he was with Mike for 10 years.
Damn.
And his whole expression on his whole face had changed. He said, well, is he the head coach for Gamboa? And I said, no. I said, but my input, I'm a consultant. My input's going to be right there. But he was shocked to hear that. But for 10 years, I was with Mike. Mike, one of the most ferocious fighters in the world. Let people come to me. I even told Evander Holyfield was one of the greatest warriors I've ever seen. Never be another Evander Holyfield. But my conversation with Evander Holyfield has always been like this. Look, you fought a different Mike Tyson. If you had fought the 20-year-old Mike Tyson, would have walked straight through you. And I hear Wilder talking about how to beat Mike Tyson. Listen, the 20-year-old Mike Tyson, you the last 2 rounds.
Damn.
That's all you'd have gone. You couldn't take that punishment. And Lennox Lewis told him, said, look, you never fought a guy who's going to try to break your bones. So Mike would break your bones. Okay, and Lennox Lewis told Wilder that. And at the time, Lennox Lewis was to fight. I advised Mike not to fight Lennox Lewis. I said, it's too late. It's too late. You can't get in shape for this. It's the wrong fight for you at this time. Your legacy is in stone. You don't need Lennox Lewis. But he took him anyway. But anyway, that's all history. But I knew he wasn't going to beat no Lennox Lewis, not at that particular time. But I look at Wilder's little old legs. He got little small pelvic bones. Everything is small down there. And Mike hit him on his pelvic bone, he'd probably break him in 2. Couldn't take nothing like that. Mike got ready to fight Delata in Detroit. And I told him, I said, listen, at the interview, I said, listen. They said, Stacy McKinley told Mike. So Stacy, they were talking to Mike. Stacy McKinley said, if you just win by decision, you ain't won. And if you just win because you knock him out, you ain't won. You got to break something. It's time to break some bones. So Mike broke his jaw and fractured 5 ribs. No, not his jaw, but he fractured 3 vertebrae in his neck and 5 ribs. I said, now, you're doing with Joe Louis, you got to break something with the power you got. So these guys, they never faced nobody like that with that kind of speed and power.
Yeah.
They never faced anything like that. They never faced Ernest Shaver. They never, come on, half of these fighters, heavyweights, I can beat for 5 rounds.
Well, I mean, they're all saying that Deontay Wilder has the biggest right hand in boxing history. Now, me personally, I don't think so. I don't think so. I said maybe top 5, top 10. I mean, I think people are getting carried away by the moment, but they're saying that that's the biggest right hand in boxing history. What's your opinion on that?
Listen, let me explain something to you. Who's he punching? Who's he throwing that right hand against?
Yeah.
Is he throwing that right hand against Ernest Shavers? Is he throwing that right hand against Joe Frazier? Is he throwing that right hand against George Foreman? Is he throwing that right hand against Kenny Norton? Is he throwing that right hand against those type of guys? No. He hitting guys that Stacy McKinley can knock out. You got to understand that. That's what he's hitting. He's not hitting those type of guys. Okay? You got to understand one thing. Wilder is an A- fighter. And the guys he's fighting are Class B and maybe Class B- fighters. He's not fighting A fighters. There's only 2 people I know in the history of boxing that fought mostly a high percentage of A fighters. And that's Evander Holyfield and Muhammad Ali. If you look at the fighters that Muhammad Ali fought, those fighters were A fighters, classified as A fighters. The guys that he defeated and fought, these guys right here, Wilder, they can't beat the guys that he beat. They can't beat those guys. You can't beat no Ernest Shavers. You can't beat no Kenny Norton. You can't beat Ron Lowndes. You can't beat no George Foreman. Come on, let's be real about this.
Yeah.
It's like me hitting a kid. Okay, now if he's trying to hit Joe Frazier, if Wilder was throwing that right hand at Joe Frazier, he'd get knocked out. He couldn't stand in the ring with no Joe Frazier. Come on, man. He couldn't stand in the ring with George Foreman. So you got to look at the competition. That's why I put Ali down as the greatest heavyweight of all time. Ahead of Joe Louis because of the competition. He fought all these A fighters.
Yeah.
Sonny Liston, and you knocking out, and Wilder knocking out Dominic Brazil, somebody I can beat. An old man, Ortiz. And the other guys, I don't even know their names. The best fighter he ever fought was Tyson Fury.
What do you think? What do you think about Tyson Fury, Coach?
Tyson Fury is a hard fighter to beat. I predict Tyson Fury to beat Deontay Wilder. I made that prediction. You never seen anything like that. You never seen a fighter can move like that. He got that old style, that old Jersey Joe Wild style, that old shake and bake style. It's hard to keep up with. It's very hard. So I had him beaten. I predicted he would beat Wilder. Okay? Now, in the rematch, I think he would beat Wilder.
Yeah.
Barring that cut that he got over his eyes doesn't flare up on him.
Who do you think won the first fight between them?
Well, by him getting knocked down so many times, it put him in a position to have a draw.
Yeah.
So I had to go along with the draw was fair. If he hadn't got knocked down that last round, then he would have won by a landslide.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. He's a very, very difficult fighter to fight. It's difficult to beat. All I got to do is ask Klitschko. He'll tell you.
Yeah.
But he got that old shake and bake style. He's fast. He ain't hitting hard, but he hits so regular. Ali wasn't a big puncher.
Yeah.
But he hit so regular. Ali had a great chin, though. So, you got to study all these different things. You know what I mean?
For sure. This is fascinating. I appreciate all your insight. Coach, we got somebody on the chat right now. He's known as Jamaican Boxing. And thank you for everybody's in the chat right now. We're on YouTube, Coach, so there's some people in the chat. They're listening to you. And one of them, his name is Jamaican Boxing. He's asking, what would you grade Trevor Bryan as far as a grade as a heavyweight? You said there's A fighters, B fighters. What would you grade Trevor Bryan?
Right now, I'll put Trevor Bryan in maybe a B plus fighter. Now, that doesn't have anything to do with he's at his peak. See, there's a difference between being a B plus fighter. If you're not at your peak, he hasn't reached his peak yet.
Yeah.
Now, 4 or 5 more fights from now, he should be an A fighter. But right now, he doesn't have the experience in the tough fight to make him, to put him in an A fight class. I can't do it. Okay, he can fight any fighter, but he's not in that class.
Yeah.
You know. So right now, after a couple more fights, then I can put him in an A fight. I think he'll be an A fighter now. When you're speaking about Jamaican fighters, there's a little difference between Jamaican fighters and other fighters. You have to understand. You know, you go around the world, you say, well, everybody's the same. Everybody's not the same. It's a lie in boxing now. Let me tell you about Jamaican fighters, which we got a Jamaican guy on here. Mike McClellan is one.
Is Trevor Bryan Jamaican? Is he of Jamaican descent?
Trevor Bryan is Jamaican. Now, what about a Jamaican fighter, Stacy? A Jamaican fighter is very strong.
Yeah.
They're very physically strong, and they got strong minds. They got a strong will, and they got a heart, and they're not afraid, and they will fight. Jamaicans will. Mike McClellan, Lennox Lewis, all them boys will fight. Mike McClellan, one of the greatest fighters ever lived, that came out of Kingston, Jamaica. So those kids will fight.
Yeah.
Okay, now if you want to take it to Venezuela, those guys are strong, and they're good punchers. You want to go to Nicaragua, those guys are real strong. Now, I got fighters from all over the world. I train every type of fighter.
Yeah.
So, Jamaicans are very, very tough, hard fighters. And they're very stubborn. They don't want to go down. They don't want to lose. They don't want to lose not only in boxing, they don't want to lose in life. So that's the way it is, Jamaican fighter.
Speaking of Jamaican fighters, I remember Trevor Bryan being of Jamaican descent because I think I've seen him on social media. I followed him ever since, I met him down there. But do you ever watch Dillian White? He's actually one of my favorite heavyweights.
I know Dillian White.
What do you think about Dillian White?
He's a B-minus fighter.
Yeah.
You'll always be a B-minus. He's tough, but he always will be a B-minus fighter.
Yeah.
He's not going to be in that category, but the A fighter got to fight somebody.
For sure.
So he'll fight Dillian White. Ain't no problem. He's tough now.
I like him because I think he's tough and he talks tough and he backs it up. So I kind of like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As far as Trevor Bryan goes, what do you think his best attributes are? Like as a fighter, what's the best things about him?
One of the things about him is heart. He'll fight. The other thing about him is he's very hard. He's very hard to hit. He's a hard heavyweight to hit. And he has one of the best jabs. I told him, he got one of the best jabs in boxing. He got one of the hardest jabs in boxing. Wow. And it's very hard to find a kid with that type of jab. Another thing is he's quick for a big man, and he throw a lot of combinations for a big man. So his quickness, his combination is unbelievable for a man that size. He got ready to fight Derek Ross. They're coming with him. I think Stacy McKinley is putting him in there too soon. I don't think this kid is ready for him, for Derek Ross right now. He's been around, and what happened to him? He had him knocked out in the second round, but because of lack of experience, he didn't realize he got to put him away. He dominated the fight. Flores. Well, Flores going to take him the distance. Flores going to get killed. He got knocked him down 4 times. He damn near killed him. So, and Trevor Bryan had never been hurt. And I'm not going to tell you what he did with some of these top fighters in sparring. I'm not going to tell you that. But you see, Trevor Bryan is right there.
What happens in sparring stays in sparring, Coach.
That's right.
Well, who do you? Speaking of which, who do you have him sparring against? I mean, I know Shannon Briggs is down there in South Florida, right? Who else is down there that you got him working with?
He's sparring with Guillermo Jones. He's sparring another kid. We got his name Rocky. We got this kid out of Texas that come through. Gerald Miller is coming down and work with us and work with us and spar with us. And so we got good sparring. And they got a couple of kids from Russia. Two couple of kids, one on 6'9", other big kid. So you got plenty of heavyweights sparring.
Wow. So speaking of heavyweights, basically next week and a half from now, we got this Andy Ruiz Anthony Joshua rematch.
Right.
What do you think about that fight, Coach?
Well, I think that Joshua might be stepping up a little too soon. I think that he should have took some time off. And I think that he should have took a little time off. And I think that he should have got with his trainer and got some help. I think he should have got some help to work on his defense and different things that he doesn't know. But they refuse to do it, so he could be in serious trouble with Ruiz, especially when he get hit. You got to understand, you got to see how he reacts when he get hit, because He got shocked in that fight. We don't know if those punches still can be there. We don't know that. So they get hit, he may have flashbacks. So you'll know in the first round. When Ruiz hit him, then you would know. So everything will come out right then.
So it sounds like you're not. So it sounds like you're not too hopeful for Joshua pulling this one off.
Well, if I had to bet the money, and I'm not a gambler, if I had to bet the money, I put it on Ruiz.
Yeah.
Now, before, if I had to bet the money, I'd have put it on Joshua.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
So,
stuff.
you know that.
Very good stuff. So, wow, very, very fascinating chat with you, Coach. We've taken up a lot of your time so far. We're actually been live for 50 minutes now, almost an hour. So
time to go.
I really appreciate your insight. You think we can get Trevor on here at some point, maybe next week?
Well, give me a call and I'll let you know.
Awesome,
Okay?
awesome. Hey, Coach, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you.
All right, thank you.
Have a great one.
You too.
So there you have it, knuckleheads. That was our little preview interview with Coach Stacy McKinley. Pretty awesome to have him on the show, I think. I think that's a pretty big deal for us. Hopefully we get more fighters and coaches on the chat soon. Appreciate all you guys in the chat. Suleiman in here. No Chain Wolfor, a kid that's actually fought for us. Appreciate you being in the chat. Got Boxing 510. What's up to you as well, brother? And Jamaican Boxing in here said, Coach out here trying to sell Wolf tickets. Oh my goodness. I appreciate you guys joining the chat. I thought that was really insightful. It's always fun to hear what experienced coaches have to say. I love how Stacy was kind of talking about how Tank Davis had no idea who Joe Gantz was and all that other stuff and the history of boxing. And you can definitely tell that he's a student of the game and he loves the history of boxing. But, appreciate you guys being on the chat. We'll do this again Friday. Of course, tomorrow's Thanksgiving, so I hope you guys have a fantastic Thanksgiving. But we'll do this again Friday. And I really appreciate you guys being on here. Jamaican Boxing says that was an awesome interview. I thought it was very cool. I thought it was very cool, especially considering that he's working with Gamboa and that fight's coming up, and that's a pretty big fight. I mean, probably one of the biggest fights at the end of the year. So exciting stuff. Again, appreciate you guys being on here. I'm going to let you guys go at this point, but for those watching on the replay, please like, share, comment, subscribe. Feel free to donate in the links below or in the super chat. Get your Fighters Rep gear in the link below, and also click that Amazon affiliate link for Black Friday. Anything you guys buy after clicking that link, even if you don't buy the hand wraps it takes you to, becomes a donation to Fighters Rep Promotions. You help me build the channel and the promotion. So thank you guys so much. I'm going to let you guys go. Really appreciate you guys and have a great night. Until Friday, keep it clean. Eat a lot of that turkey, guys.